Hi, welcome to another edition of the Firefighters Commute, where we hope to mentor you on your firefighting travels. You're with Captain Dave and Engineer Lisa.
Here we go. Paramedic school versus EMT school. One thing for sure is that you have to always have your EMT. You can get your EMT privately through a school, some kind of private paramedic program, or you can go through your local college and become an EMT with no prereqs besides possibly a first responder and CPR. Paramedic school, though, is a different ball game. If you're looking to become a paramedic, you must have your EMT first, and a couple of prereqs that go with that would be like an anatomy, physiology, and a science. Also, sometimes that's required for paramedic is a med dosage calculation class, which is an entry level for nursing. You learn about grains and archaic measurement systems to see how and when how much the paramedic has advanced, the medicine has advanced. So with that being said, I want to say, I encourage definitely school is always the best thing you can do for anything. You will never go wrong by going to school. Time out. Except for the fact that when you go to school, Dave, you lose time on a department. So the only thing that you lose is a possible seniority bid of being, hired at 121, and then you finish paramedic school, now you're in the 221 classes. So people will move ahead of you, and people will get time on the job if you go to paramedic school. Now, it kind of just depends on who's hiring and what's going on, but right now people are hiring EMTs because of the recession that happened, and everybody was at a standstill freeze for a long time. So now people are hiring, and we got a lot of retirement, and people are hiring in the next 5 years, hundreds of people. So if you really want to get into a fire department right now, an EMT firefighter is a good ticket to get in on. What do you think, Dave?
Definitely good thoughts there. I think it's got to be a customized approach with every department being unique. Not trying to make an all-encompassing statement, but I think the individual, if they're testing and they're doing the test properly, they know with their targeted departments, they know that there is not one size fits all. So let's give your example of firefighter. If you're in a city like LA, it's about opportunity costs. You have to find out exactly what they're going to need and time your ability to meet those needs for minimum requirements to capitalize on that. So if you're thinking I spend the next 2 years to get a firefighter degree, you weigh that with the opportunity costs of whatever it takes to get a paramedic, and then you're getting experience. And the seniority thing, it's not really, that can happen if your opportunity is firefighter EMT first, because you're next to LA and you meet the residency requirements or whatever. That's kind of, it should be something weighed on an individual department, because you shouldn't be testing for a department that you don't want the job for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But so based upon what you said, I might have a new philosophy on that. I think that testing process is good for everybody to go through, and the more tests you take, the better you become at it. So if you become an EMT, start taking tests. See what happens, and then when you become a paramedic, you'll have so many tests under your belt that you'll be a good test taker and you'll score high.
Yeah, a good word. So speaking of tests,
okay,
is anybody testing out there?
There's some places that are hiring, actually. San Francisco is hiring, LA is hiring. They are currently updating their lists at all times. You have a lot of smaller rural places hiring, too, that are just outside of the big city places also.
You know any places? Like any of these rural ones?
Like rural?
Like just pull rural out so we can talk about two different agencies that you can test at. Because, as I said, you need to be smart about this. It's a highly competitive market out there, the California firefighter. And then once you get it, once you get that job, it's not like yours to keep, like some superior court judgeship. You got to work to keep that. Somebody might be gunning for you. The minute somebody decides you shouldn't be there anymore, that makes your life miserable.
Yeah, usually that person will win, especially if they're off probation, because you don't have any words and you're an at-will employee and can get canned at any time.
Probation, what is that? So let's talk about it. Okay, do you have any places that might be?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to let you guys know that Ross Valley Fire is actually hiring right now. They're hiring entry-level and lateral EMT and paramedic. The Ross Valley Fire Department is a state testing process. They accept CalJack CPAT, and you have to score 70% on the FCTC's statewide eligibility list. So, you know, it's a smaller department, but they are accepting laterals in all ranks. So if you
What was
feel
the name of it?
It is
Spelling?
Ross Valley, ROSS Valley Fire Department.
Okay, so the sanitary district came up first. So I would say first and foremost, if you're in the fire department at Ross Valley, you want to get a hold of your SEO because you should not have the shitters full.
Well, they're hiring medics, so they might be keeping the streets clean with the ambulance.
I want to tell you that
street sweeping.
Our friends at Ross Valley Fire Department, you have 2 Google reviews. They're saying you're average. You're 3 stars out of 5 on Google. Our friends at Ross Valley, give us a call. We can help you improve those ratings. The fire department should be 5 stars all the way.
So for you who don't know who Ross Valley Fire Department is Ross, San Anselmo, Sleepy Hollow, and Fairfax. So that's the location in California.
Oh, where Fairfax? Where's that?
It looks like there's 4 stations.
I'm looking more at the city. I'm looking at you want to work at a place that you know where it's going to be first.
I'd be interested to see if they're 3-person crews versus 4-person crews, what their saturation for medics. I know usually you have to have at least 1 medic per rig so you can have ALS to provide for the community. So for you that are interested, that looks like a great job, and the starting pay is great with medical benefits and retirement. So take a peek at that. Hey, you're overlooking this, Captain. You already have a job. What are you doing over here? You gonna apply? You gonna lateral out?
Oh, they lost engineer paramedic Chris Mahoney, age 39.
Oh no, job related.
He was a Ross Valley Fire Department unexpected passing. Well, it's relatively recent, since this is airing on.
Thank you for your
September
service,
27th.
Chris Mahoney.
Thank you, Chris. That's
Aw.
very nice. All right, well, thanks for your
service,
buddy. That's a
good-looking picture. It looks like a good dude.
All right, so, Ross Valley.
So Ross Valley's where it's at. Check it out, you guys.
Marin County.
All right. So the testing update.
Okay,
let's move on
let's walk through. Okay, so if I was going to be trying to, this is an excellent segue for our next segment, hiring process. So we're going to talk about the big 3. With the hiring process in California, let's say you're gonna test over at Ross Valley. You want to find out first of the 3 is you got to find the right job posting. So it's about timing. That's the opportunity cost. You scope out your department, you scope out your fire department before they're hiring. So let's say you had your eyes on our friends at Ross Valley Fire Department, and you are waiting for that opportunity of an entry-level job. So you have no experience. And, boy, this is your chance. So you need to be ready for that job posting, which has a small amount of information. You proceed forward from there. So let's open up this job posting. And it says...
It looks like they have an OES rig. It says they're on a strike team somewhere. they send people out. So they must have enough depth in the department where they can send rigs out on strike teams. So that's good to know.
So the first step in the big 3 is your job announcement, because the job announcement is only in a small amount of time, and then it gives you some details to follow, which is the next step is the application. The application is the second thing of the big 3, and then the third is the legitimate test. In California, most fire agencies are going to have all 3 because if they're having to pay for paramedics, because this has an opportunity for you to be a firefighter, engineer, EMT, and paramedic. Lateral firefighter. So to pay for a paramedic in California, especially Marin County, it costs a lot of money. It's about $200,000 a year in total cost, maybe even more.
Well, I saw their pay scale. It looks like it's between $6,000 to $8,000 a month depending on where you get hired at, but it's pretty good.
For sure that you're going to have the big three involved, and the first one is the job announcement. So we helped you out with the first step, which is finding good places to test for in California. Not every fire department is the best place to test for in California, and I would say, from what I could tell on Ross Valley, they're worth actually taking their test. So with the second portion being the application, you better understand that is when the process of scoring and accumulating points begins. And I'm going to give you a little tidbit of information that's going to put you above the competition right here. Is get really good at handwriting the application, because wouldn't you agree that if you see somebody who's handwritten document seems to create a bias in a sense that they have a level of intelligence that you go, oh, you have really good handwriting, and you give them some sort of a weight. Right?
Absolutely. Well, if you're writing in sloppy cursive, does that mean that your car's disheveled, your bed's not made, and your clothes are wrinkled? Or if you're writing in all caps, does that mean that you're a paramedic and you take this seriously, that you have a new style of writing that's very militaristic and regimented, which can ensue that you're a good documenter? And you can overlook into these things. Generally, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but when you're testing, you're being judged on all aspects, so you need to shine with a good front, for sure.
You're testing against humans with humans grading you. So the point of it being you tap into that human bias, and you don't have to engage in a relationship
without even
somebody.
Knowing you're tapping into it. You're totally tapping into it, because before you said that, I was thinking, well, there's two ways to get things done. You're either going to type it out or you're going to handwrite it, and I handwrite a lot of things. I don't feel personally that it's been a detriment to me, but now that you're talking about things that you may not think about, the unnoticed bias. And that's exactly what that is. So, hey, maybe I've missed opportunities because of my handwriting. Dave, I'm glad you pointed that today.
There's tons of cognitive biases, is what Charlie Munger, who's the business partner of Warren Buffett, he wrote this book, and he lines out the common cognitive biases that we're going to experience as humans and with humans. And once you start to understand that whatever you tend to like, you love, whatever you dislike, you tend to hate, and whatever you have an association, it tends to bring about some sort of an enchanted power. So we have these things that we walk around with, and as soon as you can pull yourself out of going, oh, I'm just following along in some sort of pre-dug trench, and I can see the outcome just by adhering to these same biases. So if you're looking to get hired, you need to mirror what they're doing, because then they'll like you and love you, right? Tony Robbins says that your first order of business is to mirror somebody's behavior. And so if you look at Tony Robbins and a lot of his one-on-one interactions, he's an amazing individual. I just read his biography, just popped up, and I just quickly glanced through it. That's funny. That's awesome, yeah. But you see him doing a lot of mirroring, because one of the things that humans really respond well to is this reciprocity bias. What? I'm copying your mannerisms. Oh, you didn't even know what to say. Cool. You just were like, hey, she's cool. Yeah. Like, wait, she's copying me. I'm cool, so she's cool. So, yeah, I totally agree with you there. So I think it's really good to start suggesting. I didn't want to finish your thought, but I'm kind of finishing your thought where you're suggesting to make sure to type it out or write with authority. All of it. All of the above. Because in writing, you have to pick with the application process. You pick out. You're given a finite amount of room to somehow, and most people embellish. That's the thing that they're thinking of. If you can't market the product, you market the package. And so this is the application is your opportunity to start marketing your package, because on a very superficial approach, you're still being graded. You have to be profiled in order for this document to grant you access to the next step of the process, which is the third thing. And that's the legitimized testing, and that could be an oral, written, assessment center, some sort of a physical ability, and they're all kind of packaged together. Where we're going to break them down in podcasts, but the system, once you see how it's broken down, you can really attack it and become a master at every one of those components. All right, so can you just label off the big three again? Okay, so the big three would be on a department that you you should have already had your eyes on it, because it's a big investment. So if they want you, do you want them?
It's a
you
huge
should
investment.
hire your department first.
Correct. I totally agree.
I would look
Is
around
it where
and
you
go,
want to live? Is it
yes.
the community you want to serve? Is it where you want to be known for? Do they have what you're looking for? Do you want to have like an academic, like military, paramilitary department, or do you want something that's not so military but more of like a hands-on feel-good dog and pony? There's so much variety that you can pick and choose what your destiny will be.
And you're getting into a relationship for 20 years, and it could be a raving bitch of a 20 years, or it could be a harmonious environment.
Right.
Now, the place that you're going to is steered a lot by the culture that's within. So, I mean, there's more to it than that, but on the first big three that I would say on a legitimate testing process is, number one, you got to be ready for the job posting. Number two, you have to know about the application, what they're looking for, because you're given a small amount of paper to sell the package. So you should know what they're looking for so that you can put that on paper. So enhancing or building upon your experience as a pianist, or you spent some time as a circus clown, might be interesting, and somebody told you somewhere down the line that, oh, put that shit down, because then they'll go, hey, you were a circus clown? Wow, let's talk about that. And you really, no, that shit doesn't fly. The document grades your ability to follow simple directions.
I totally agree. So let them eliminate you, but don't eliminate yourself by not complying with all of the requirements.
The application
don't miss your
is
driver's
not the place
license.
to get
Don't
creative.
miss your paramedic card or your EMT. Like, get all your certs in there and attention to detail. I was taking a lateral test, actually, Dave. It's funny you said that. And, big city department, recognized accredited tower I went through. And I was switching to I was testing for another department. I like to test, keep my options open, see where I was at. And I forgot to check the lateral box. So after a rigorous academy of 20 weeks, 3 years on the service in a busy department, I forgot to check the lateral box. They offered me a job, but I'd have to attend a tower again, and that really wasn't for me. But what I had done was failed to follow every single direction, and that was a choice that I had to wear, and I had to stop the application process because I didn't follow it to a T. So don't eliminate yourself. Let them eliminate you and get as far as you can, not on technicalities.